Chapter 6.
Chapter 6. The Structure and Division of Powers. Article 50. The House of People's Representatives. The House of People's Representatives is the highest authority of the federal government of Ethiopia. The House is responsible to the people. All Ethiopian legislative body elected by the Ethiopian people every 4 years. These representatives are composed of the Federal Party, Democratic Party, and Republic Party. Each province can pledge 3 senators and 1 House representative from each province district to Addis Ababa for 4-year services. Article 51. Powers and Functions of the Federal Government. Under this constitution, Ethiopia's Federal Democratic Republic has a national government system and a provincial administrative system. Article 52. Powers and Functions of Provinces. All powers are not given to the federal government alone or concurrently to the federal government because the province is reserved. Provinces shall have the following powers and functions: to establish a province administration that best advances self-government, a democratic order based on the rule of law, and to protect and defend the federal government constitution. Also, enact and execute the provincial constitution and other laws to formulate and implement economic, social, and development policies, strategies, and plans for the province. Additionally, to administer land and other natural resources by federal laws. Also, to levy and collect taxes and duties on revenue sources reserved. The provinces can draw up their provincial budget to enact and enforce the local civil services laws. Also, their condition of work: in the implementation of this responsibility, it shall ensure that educational, training, and experience requirements for any job, title, or position approximate national standards, to establish and administer a local police force, and to maintain public order and peace within the province. Powers not given expressly to the federal government alone, or concurrently to the federal government and the province reserved to the provinces. Article 53. Immunity of members of the House of the Federal Government. After this new, Ethiopian Constitution ratification referendum, Day 1, the current ethnic federalism parliament will dissolve. After the new Ethiopian Constitution ratification referendum, Day 1, the current Ethiopian ethnic federalism parliamentary system will change into a presidential system. Under this, the new Ethiopian Constitution, the Senate floor, and people's representatives are bicameral governmental lawmakers or a legislative branch called the Ethiopian Congress. No member of the House of the federal government may prosecute on account of any vote he/she casts or opinion he expresses in the House, nor shall any administrative action be taken against any member on such grounds. No member of the federal government member has any immunity from arrest or prosecution for any crime. According to Article 4 Number 2, all Ethiopian citizens are equal under the law. Article 54. The House of People's Representatives. The people shall elect members of the House of People's Representatives for 4 years by universal suffrage and by direct, free, and fair elections held by secret ballot. Members of the House shall be elected from candidates in each electoral district by a plurality of the votes cast. Law shall make provisions for exceptional representation for peoples. Members of the House are representatives of the Ethiopian people as a whole. The Constitution governs them, and they cast votes on by attendance only. Article 55, Budget. Provinces shall take all necessary action to ensure that the national economy is managed in such a manner as to maximize the rate of agricultural economic development and to secure the maximum welfare, freedom, and happiness of every person on the family farm of Ethiopia, and to provide adequate means of livelihood and public assistance to the needy. Sponsoring by the federal and provincial government must provide free land and tractors for the farmers' associations. In particular, the provinces shall take all necessary steps to establish a healthy economy and guarantee fair and realistic remuneration for production and productivity by the federal and provincial governments to encourage continued production and higher productivity by sponsoring the harvesting material combiners. To afford ample opportunity for farmers' associations' initiative and creativity in economic activities and foster an enabling environment, federal and provincial governments must sponsor equally free land with an artificial raining system or irrigation technology system for all the farmers' associations to play the most significant economic role in our country. The right to establish a business ensures that the farmers' sector bears its fair share of social and national responsibilities, including responsibilities to contribute to its overall development. The Ethiopian Congress can balance the development of all provinces equally, and every part of each province of Ethiopia. In particular to improves the conditions of life and the population of the rural areas. Article 56, Speaker of the House. Speaker of the House exercises duties as a member of Congress, as presiding officer of the House of Representatives, and as leader of the majority political party in the House. These responsibilities include voting on legislation, administrative duties such as maintaining order within the House chamber, and other tasks such as appointing special committees. The Speaker of the House is the presiding officer of the House of Representatives. Speaker of the House's his duties as presiding officer of the House, including administering the oath of office to members, calling the House to order, preserving order and decorum within the House chamber and galleries, recognizing members to speak on the House floor, and making rulings about House procedures. The Speaker usually delegates some of these administrative duties to other majority parties, such as acting as Speaker pro tempore and leading House legislative sessions. The Speaker also appoints members and chairpersons of regular committees, special or select committees, conference committees, and designates a majority of the Committee on Rules. Speaker determines which legislation can assign to each committee, and which legislation reaches the House floor for a vote. Furthermore, the Speaker decides the House legislative agenda in consultation with party leaders, committee chairpersons, the President, and the Senate. Speaker presides over all joint sessions with the Senate because of these official gatherings held in the House of Representatives. The Speaker of the House leader of the majority party in the House of Representatives. It means the Speaker is held responsible for passing legislation supported by the majority vote. The Speaker usually has a less prominent role as party leader when the President belongs to the same party. In contrast, the Speaker's prominence and the public position typically increase when they are from a different political party than the President. Article 57, Meetings of the House, Duration of its term. The presence of more than half of the members of the House constitutes a quorum. The House's annual session shall begin on Monday of the final week of the Ethiopian month of Mescharim and end on the 30th day of the Ethiopian month of Sena. The House may adjourn for 1 month of recess during its annual session. The House of People's Representatives shall elect for a term of 4 years. The Speaker of the House may call a meeting of the House when it is in recess. Meetings of the House shall be public. However, holding a closed session at the executive or members of the House's request is supported by a decision of more than 1/2 of the House members. Article 58, Member of House. Prohibition of simultaneous membership in the two houses. No one may be a member of the House of People's Representatives and the House of the federal government simultaneously. Members of the House may vote only when they are present in person in the House. Article 59, Democratic Republic of Ethiopia. The President. There shall be a President of the Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, who shall be the head of province and head of government. Article 60, Presidential Election and Oath. The President of Ethiopia shall be elected nationally every 4 years through the one-person one-vote rule. The oath of office. I do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, and will to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the Democratic Republic of Ethiopia. Article 61, Powers of the Democratic Republic of Ethiopia President. Appoint ambassadors and officers. The President's appointments can include public ministers and consuls, ambassadors to foreign countries, cabinet members, and all officers whose assignments are in the Constitution. Some of the presidentially appointed positions also require the candidates to go through the Senate confirmation process. Grant commissions and call special sessions of Congress. The President also has the power to fill vacancies that may happen during a Senate recess. These commissions expire at the end of the next Senate session. Grant reprieves and pardons. The President has the power to grant reprieves and pardons to people for federal crimes. A rescue temporarily postpones punishing a person for their crimes while a pardon forgives the crime and the penalty for the crime. Reprieves and pardons do not need the approval of Congress. Many presidents issue pardons as they exit the office. Make treaties. The Constitution grants the President the power to make treaties, or formal agreements, with other nations. These treaties might take place as the ending points for wars or conflicts. The President must receive consent from the majority vote of the Senate to make all treaties official and actionable. Emergency powers. The most common inherent powers are emergency powers, exercised only in times of great need. Some emergency powers are limited in scope. The President can declare a place devastated by a storm in a federal disaster area, making it eligible for federal aid. Other emergency powers are much faster in scope. Article 62, Powers and the Functions of the Judiciary of the Federal Government. The House has the power to interpret the Constitution. The purpose of the judiciary is to interpret laws and make rulings on legal questions. Additionally, it determines if laws passed by legislatures on a national, provincial, or local level violate the Ethiopian constitution. In this way, the judicial branch plays a crucial role in the government's checks and balances system. Article 63, The Duty President. It shall organize the Council of Constitutional Inquiry. It shall promote the peoples of Ethiopia's equality enshrined in the Constitution, and promoted and consolidated their unity based on their mutual consent. It shall exercise the powers concurrently entrusted to it, and the House of People's Representatives. It shall strive to find solutions to disputes or misunderstandings that may arise between provinces. It shall determine the division of revenues derived from joint federal government and local tax sources, and the federal government's subsidies to the province. It shall evaluate civil matters which require the enactment of laws by the House of People's Representatives. It shall order federal intervention if any province violates this constitution and endangers the constitutional order. It shall establish permanent and ad hoc committees. It shall elect the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker of the House, and it shall adopt rules of procedure and internal administration. Article 64, The Meetings between the Council of Ministers. The Cabinet consists of many senior ministers who hold essential portfolios such as defense, home affairs, education, etc. The meetings between the Council of Ministers are rare. The Board of Ministers usually consists of all ministers of the government. Article 65, Federal Government Budget. Budget. The House of the Federal Government shall submit its budget for approval to the House of People's Representatives. Article 66, Foreign Relations of Ethiopia. The fundamental principles that guide Ethiopia's foreign policy are contained in Ethiopia's constitution to provide the broad principles underpinning her foreign policy as follows. Promote and protect the interest of Ethiopia. The establishment of justice equitably internationally, economically, politically, and socially. The promotion of respect for international law, treaty of obligations. The rise of the settlement of the international dispute is through peaceful means. Adhere to the principles enshrined in the Charter and aims or ideals of the United Nations, the African Union, and IGAD. Promote foreign relations policies based on the protection of national interests and respect for the sovereignty of the country. Promote mutual respect for national freedom and equality of provinces, and non-interference in other nations' internal affairs. Ensure the country's foreign relation policies in provinces' mutual interests and equality, and that international agreement promotes Ethiopia. Observe international agreements that ensure respect for Ethiopia's sovereignty and are not contrary to the interests of its peoples. Forge and promote ever-growing economic union and fraternal relations of peoples with Ethiopia's neighbors and other African countries. Seek and support peaceful solutions to international disputes. Article 67, Principles for National Defense Separation from the President's Power. Under this Ethiopian constitution, the Ethiopian president power and the Minister of Ethiopian Defense power is separated. The Minister of Ethiopian Defense shall be a civilian. After ratifying Ethiopia's new constitution by the referendum, the Ethiopian Information Minister and the Ethiopian Defense Minister's power will be free from the President's control. They will become solely part of the Ethiopian independent institution under the Ethiopian new constitution. This Ethiopian constitution separated all responsibilities of federal and provincial of Ethiopian military services, placing their responsibilities firmly under the Ethiopian Congress's civilian hands, separating from national or provincial president's power. The composition of the national armed forces shall reflect the equitable representation of the peoples of Ethiopia. Pledge the security services forces for all 14 provinces and Addis Ababa administration equally. The armed forces shall protect the sovereignty of the country and carry out any responsibilities as may be assigned to them under any provincial emergency declared by the Ethiopian constitution. The armed forces shall, at all times, obey and respect the Ethiopian constitution. The armed forces shall carry out their functions free of any partisanship to any political organizations or affiliation. According to the Ethiopian constitution, unlawful possession or carrying of firearms is punishable with imprisonment. Using or attempting to use arms when committing a scheduled offense because of people's identity, tribe, or clan discrimination is punishable with death, and this kind of criminal case to prosecute against someone can pursue without any time limitation. Article 68, Political Principles for Provinces' Federal Relations. The Ethiopian constitution governs the relationship and authority of the province and the federal government. Federal action is limited to situations in which constitutional authority for action is clear and specific. Unless the national interest is at risk, the federal act should not preempt additional province action. The federal government delegates specific enumerated powers, while all other powers not otherwise prohibited by the Constitution are reserved to the province. However, the National Governors Association must work to preserve and promote a balanced relationship between the region. Federal action should be limited to national problems in scope, preserving province securities regulation and province personnel programs management. Congress should not interfere with local revenue systems. The independent ability of provinces to develop their revenue systems is a basic tenet of self-government and our Federalist Plan. The federal government should not enact any legislation or adopt any regulation that would preempt, either directly or indirectly, sources of provinces' revenues, province tax bases, or provincial taxation methods. The judicial branch should respect province authority. Avoiding federal preemption of provincial laws and policies also extends to the judicial branch. Provinces are actively involved in a cooperative effort to develop policy and administrative procedures. The federal government should respect areas' authority to determine the allocation of administrative and financial responsibilities within provinces by province constitutions and statutes. Federal legislation should not infringe on this authority. Provinces should transfer a limited amount of funds from one grant program to another or administer related grants in a coordinated manner. Federal funds should provide maximum provinces flexibility without specific set-asides. Federal reporting requirements should minimize. The federal government should not dictate the province or local government organization.